The very poor girl. Just bought her first car and, not knowing how to drive well, went to a rich neighborhood where there was less traffic. But she hit the billionaire's dog. He cried. She panicked. Then he did something surprising. A 23-year-old woman who just bought her first car, a 2008 Honda Civic with 150,000 miles that cost all her savings from 2 years working as a waitress, is so nervous in Seattle traffic that she decides to find somewhere empty to practice. Go to Madison. Park, her best friend Julia suggests. Sunday morning that neighborhood is deserted. All the mansions are empty because everyone travels to their vacation homes. You can practice parallel parking without anyone honking at you. So Marina Silva, daughter of a housekeeper who raised 3 kids alone in a 2-bedroom apartment in South Seattle, drives her noisy, scratched Civic to Seattle's wealthiest neighborhood at 7 a.m. on a Sunday in March. She's practicing parallel parking on a quiet, tree-lined street, sweating and remembering the driving lessons she could barely afford when it happens. An enormous golden retriever comes running out of a gate that must have been left open and runs straight into the street. Marina hits the brakes, but she's in second gear and panicking, and her reaction time is too slow. There's a horrible sound. The dog yelps, and Marina gets out of her car, shaking, expecting to find the worst. The dog is lying in the street, whimpering, and coming out of the mansion's gate is a man in his mid-30s wearing running clothes, hair messy like he just woke up, and the moment he sees his dog lying there, his face completely crumbles. "Cooper!" he shouts, running to the dog. "Cooper, no, no, no!" He drops to his knees beside the golden retriever, and Marina watches in horror as this grown man, this clearly wealthy, handsome man who lives in a literal mansion, starts crying. Not just tearing up, actually crying, tears streaming down his face as he carefully runs his hands over the dog, checking for injuries. "I'm so sorry," Marina stammers, her own tears starting. "I'm so sorry. He just ran out and I tried to brake, but I'm not good at driving yet, and I couldn't stop in time, and I'm so sorry." The man looks up at her, and despite his tears, his voice is gentle. "Is he breathing? Can you check if he's breathing while I call my vet?" His hands are shaking so badly he can barely hold his phone. This story has a poor girl who just achieved her dream of car ownership, only to have her first solo drive end in disaster. A billionaire tech CEO who loves his dog more than anything in his carefully controlled world, discovering the one thing money can't fix. A golden retriever named Cooper, who survives but needs surgery that costs more than Marina makes in 6 months. Marina offering to pay in installments over the next 5 years because she can't live with the guilt. The billionaire, whose name is Alexander Hunt, and who made his fortune in cloud computing, refusing her money but asking for something else. Come visit Cooper during his recovery. He'll need company while I'm at work. A recovery period that turns into daily visits where Marina and Alexander talk for hours in his ridiculous mansion while Cooper sleeps between them. Both of them falling for each other so slowly they don't notice until Alexander's business partner points out he's been leaving work at 5 p.m. every day for 2 months, which he's never done in his life. Marina's crisis of, "I literally hit his dog. This is Stockholm Syndrome or guilt or something equally messed up." Alexander's crisis of, "I'm falling in love with a woman who could have killed the only thing I love, and somehow that makes sense." The moment when Marina finally admits she can't afford to fix her car's damage from the accident, and Alexander offers to pay, and she refuses, and they have their first real fight about money and class and pride, and an ending 4 years later that shows them married with 4 rescue dogs, all of them golden retrievers. Because Alexander decided if Marina could make him love her after hitting Cooper, the universe was telling him something about second chances and unexpected love. What happens when the worst moment of your life becomes the beginning of everything you never knew you needed? Subscribe now. Because this is the story that proves the best love stories start with disasters and dogs. That crying over a pet doesn't make you weak, it makes you human. That poor girls who buy their first cars with waitressing money deserve love stories too. And that sometimes hitting a billionaire's dog with your beat-up Honda is the universe's way of putting you exactly where you belong. Don't miss how one terrible Sunday morning, one injured golden retriever, months of recovery visits, and two people who should never have met become a family that proves love doesn't care about money or class or the fact that you literally ran over his dog. Marina Silva's hands were shaking so badly she could barely turn the key in the ignition. It was 6:47 a.m. on a Sunday in March, and she was sitting in her new 2008 Honda Civic, silver with a dent in the passenger door, a crack in the windshield, and an engine that made concerning noises but had passed inspection, trying to convince herself she could do this. She'd bought the car yesterday, used all her savings, $4,200 earned from 2 years of working double shifts at Denny's, picking up every EU, holiday and late-night shift, saying no to movies and dinners out, and new clothes. Her mother had cried when Marina showed her the title. "Minha filha, you did it. Your own car. Your father would be so proud." Marina had cried too, because her father had died when she was 15 and never got to see her graduate high school, let alone buy a car. And because owning a car, having that freedom, that independence, felt like such an impossible dream for a girl from South Seattle whose mother cleaned houses for a living. But now, sitting in the driver's seat with her brand new license, she'd passed on her 3rd try last month, and absolutely zero confidence in her driving abilities, Marina was wondering if this was a terrible mistake. "You can do this," she told herself, pulling out her phone to text Julia. "Right? I can do this?" Julia's response came immediately. "You've got this. Just go somewhere quiet to practice. Try Madison Park. All the rich people leave on Sunday mornings. You'll have the whole neighborhood to yourself." Madison Park. Marina had cleaned houses there with her mother when she was younger, knew exactly where it was. Huge mansions, tree-lined streets, barely any traffic. Perfect for a nervous new driver. She took a deep breath, started the car. It made that concerning noise again, but she ignored it, and carefully pulled out of her apartment building's parking lot. The drive from South Seattle to Madison Park took 30 minutes because Marina drove like she was 90 years old, 10 miles under the speed limit, gripping the steering wheel so hard her knuckles were white, heart racing every time another car got too close. But she made it, parking on a quiet side street where massive houses sat behind gates and perfect hedges. Julia was right. The neighborhood was deserted. Marina spent 20 minutes just driving up and down the street, practicing her turns, getting comfortable with the brake and gas pedals. The sun was coming up properly now, golden light filtering through the trees, and Marina felt her confidence growing. She could do this. She was doing this. "Okay," she said aloud. "Parallel parking. You can do this." She found a space between 2 driveways and carefully positioned the car like her driving instructor had taught her. Turn the wheel all the way right, back up slowly when the rear windshield lines up with the car behind you. A flash of gold in her peripheral vision. Marina's head whipped around to see an enormous dog, golden retriever, running full speed, darting out from an open gate and straight into the street. She slammed on the brakes, but she was in 2nd gear instead of 1st. Her foot hit the pedal wrong, and the car lurched forward instead of stopping. There was a sickening thump, a yelp, the horrible sound of impact. "Oh God! Oh God! Oh God! Oh God!" Marina threw the car into park and practically fell out, her legs shaking so badly she could barely stand. The dog, this beautiful golden retriever, with fur that shone in the morning light, was lying on the pavement, whimpering. "No, no, no." Marina dropped to her knees beside the dog, her hands hovering because she didn't know if she should touch him, didn't know first aid for dogs, didn't know anything except that this was the worst thing that had ever happened. "Cooper." Marina's head snapped up to see a man running out of the gate where the dog had come from. He was in his mid-30s, tall, probably 6'1", with dark hair that stuck up. Like he'd just woken up, wearing expensive-looking running clothes and a watch that probably cost more than Marina's car. As he got closer, she could see he was handsome in that way. Wealthy people were handsome. Good bone structure, clear skin, the kind of casual attractiveness that came from never worrying about money. But right now, all Marina could focus on was the absolute devastation on his face as he saw his dog lying in the street. "Cooper, no." The man dropped to his knees on the other car, side of the dog, his hands immediately but carefully checking the dog over. "Cooper, buddy, can you hear me? Where does it hurt?" The dog whimpered, trying to lift his head. "I'm so sorry," Marina burst out, tears already streaming down her face. "I'm so sorry. He just ran out and I tried to brake, but I'm not good at driving yet and I couldn't stop in time." "Is he breathing?" The man's voice cracked. "Can you check if he's breathing while I call my vet?" Marina leaned closer, watching the dog's chest. "Yes, he's breathing. It looks shallow, but he's breathing." The man was crying now. Actually crying. Tears running down his face while he tried to dial his phone with shaking hands. "Dr. Martinez? It's Alexander Hunt. My dog was hit by a car. I need you to meet me at the clinic now. Now. I don't care that it's Sunday, I'll pay triple." Alexander. His name was Alexander. And he was crying over his dog in a way that made Marina's chest hurt because she'd never seen a grown man cry like that, with complete unself-consciousness, like nothing in the world mattered, except this animal. "She says she'll meet us there in 20 minutes, Alexander said, wiping his eyes with the back of his hand. "I need to move him. Do you know anything about moving injured animals?" "No, I don't know anything, I'm sorry." It's okay. Alexander was taking deep breaths, clearly trying to calm himself. "I'm going to pick him up. If you could open the back door of my car." He pointed to a sleek black Tesla parked in the driveway. Passenger side. Marina ran to the car and opened the door. Alexander carefully, so carefully, scooped Cooper up. The dog whimpered but didn't struggle, and carried him to the car, laying him gently across the back seat. "I should follow you," Marina said quickly. "To the vet. In case you need to make a police report, or I need to give insurance information, or—" "I don't care about that." Alexander's voice was rough. "I just need to make sure Cooper's okay, but if you want to come, the clinic is on East Madison Animal Hospital. You can follow me." Marina ran back to her Honda, her hands still shaking so badly she could barely get the key in the ignition. She followed Alexander's Tesla through the early morning streets, both of them going too fast, running yellow lights, not caring about traffic laws because there was a dog who might be dying. At the animal hospital, Dr. Martinez was already waiting, a woman in her 50s in jeans and a sweatshirt, clearly dragged out of her Sunday morning. She took one look at Cooper and immediately got to work, ushering them into an exam room. "What happened?" she asked, her hands moving over Cooper's body with practiced efficiency. "He was hit by a car," Alexander said. His voice was steadier now, but his face was pale. "He got out of the gate. I must not have closed it properly when I got back from my run, and he ran into the street and—" "Okay, let me examine him. Both of you out. I'll come get you when I know more." In the waiting room, Marina and Alexander sat in plastic chairs that were probably meant to be comfortable, but felt like instruments of torture. Alexander had his head in his hands. Marina was crying silently, wiping her face with the sleeves of her sweatshirt. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry. If he dies, I'll never forgive myself. I'll pay for everything. I'll work it off. It's not your fault." Alexander looked up, and, his eyes were red. "He ran into the street. You couldn't have stopped in time. I'm the one who left the gate open. I'm the one who—" His voice broke. "He's only 4 years old. I got him when he was a puppy. He's all I have. My girlfriend left me 2 years ago because I worked too much. I don't have kids. My parents are dead. Cooper he's my family. He's all I have." Marina didn't know what to say to that. So she just sat there, this stranger who'd hit this man's dog, while both of them waited to find out if Cooper would survive. 20 minutes passed. Then 40. At 53 minutes, Dr. Martinez came out, and both Marina and Alexander jumped to their feet. "He's alive," Dr. Martinez said immediately. "And he's going to be okay." Alexander made a sound that was half laugh, half sob. "Thank God. Thank God. He has a broken leg, his left rear leg. He's also badly bruised, and he has some internal bleeding that I'm concerned about. But it's not critical. I want to keep him here for observation. Do surgery tomorrow to set the leg. He'll need to stay for at least 3 days, maybe 5, depending on how he recovers." Dr. Martinez looked between them. "I'm not going to lie. This is going to be expensive. The surgery alone is $4,000 plus hospitalization, medications, physical therapy after—" "I don't care what it costs," Alexander said immediately. "Do whatever he needs. Money isn't an issue." "I'll pay," Marina burst out. "I have to pay. I'm the one who hit him." Alexander turned to look at her. "You don't have to." "I do. I can't just walk away from this. Please, let me pay. I'll set up a payment plan. I'll work extra shifts. Marina." Alexander's voice was gentle. "That's your name, right? I heard you say it on the phone when you were texting someone." Marina nodded, her throat too tight to speak. "Marina, I appreciate the offer, but I'm not going to let you bankrupt yourself over an accident. Cooper is my dog, my responsibility. I'll handle the bills. But how about this?" Alexander ran a hand through his hair. "If you really want to help, come visit Cooper during his recovery. He'll be lonely here at the clinic, and then when he comes home, he'll need company while I'm at work. I run a tech company. I'm usually gone 10-12 hours a day. Cooper hates being alone. If you could come by, even just for an hour or two, sit with him, that would be more valuable than money." Marina stared at him. "You want me to come visit?" "Your dog? The dog I hit?" "I want Cooper to have company, and honestly, I think it would be good for both of you. You're clearly tearing yourself apart over this. Maybe if you see him recover, see that he's okay, it'll help." Alexander pulled out his phone. "Can I get your number? I'll text you the address. Let you know when he's home from the clinic." This was insane. This man whose dog she'd hit was asking for her phone number, was inviting her to his house. But Marina gave him her number, because what else was she supposed to do? She owed this man, owed his dog. "Thank you," Alexander said quietly, "for stopping, for following me here, for caring. A lot of people would have just driven away." "I could never," Marina's voice broke. "I'm not that person. I can see that." 3 days later, Marina's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "This is Alexander. Cooper's home from the clinic. If you're still willing to visit, I get home from work around 6 p.m. You're welcome. Anytime between 6 and 9. No pressure, but Cooper would love to see you. Alexander Hunt." Marina stared at the text for a full minute. Then she typed back, "I'll be there tomorrow at 6:30. What's your address?" The address Alexander sent made Marina's stomach drop. She'd been to that street before, with her mother, to clean a house 3 doors down from his. She knew exactly how wealthy this neighborhood was, knew the kind of people who lived there. And now, she was going to one of those houses. To visit a dog she'd hit, with a man who was probably a billionaire based on the size of his house and the casual way he'd said, "Money isn't an issue," about a $4,000 surgery. This was the weirdest situation of Marina's entire life, but she'd promised. So the next evening, Marina drove her beat-up Honda back to Madison Park, found Alexander's house, even bigger than she'd thought, with a perfectly manicured lawn and a gate that was now very securely closed, and pressed the buzzer. "Come in." Alexander's voice came through the intercom. "Gates opening." Marina drove up the circular driveway and parked her embarrassing car next to Alexander's Tesla. The front door opened before she could knock, and Alexander stood there in jeans and a t-shirt that probably cost more than Marina's entire outfit, looking tired but smiling. "Marina, you came. Come in. Come in." Cooper's in the living room. He's been sleeping most of the day, but the vet said that's normal. The house was exactly what Marina expected: enormous, decorated like something from a magazine, art on the walls that was probably original. She followed Alexander through the foyer, a foyer, who had a foyer in their house, to a massive living room where Cooper was lying on a dog bed the size of Marina's twin mattress, his left rear leg in a cast, looking sleepy but alert. "Cooper, look who's here," Alexander said softly, kneeling beside the dog. Cooper's tail thumped weakly against the bed. His eyes focused on Marina, and she felt her heart break all over again. "Hi, Cooper," she whispered, kneeling on the other side of the bed. "I'm so sorry about what happened. I'm so sorry." To her shock, Cooper stretched his neck and licked her hand. "He forgives you," Alexander said, his voice thick. Dogs are better at forgiveness than humans. Marina spent the next hour sitting on the floor next to Cooper's bed, carefully petting him, while Alexander sat in an armchair nearby, occasionally checking his phone, but mostly just watching his dog. "Tell me about yourself," Alexander said eventually. "What do you do, besides practice driving in wealthy neighborhoods on Sunday mornings?" Marina laughed, despite herself. "I'm a waitress at Denny's, the one on Capitol Hill. I work doubles most days, which is how I saved up for my car. That car that I used to hit your dog." She paused. "What about you? You said you run a tech company?" "Cloud computing platform for enterprise clients. It's incredibly boring unless you're really into data management." Alexander smiled. "I started it 7 years ago, right out of business school. Got lucky with timing, raised venture capital right before the market got competitive, scaled fast, sold to a private equity firm last year for enough money that I'll never have to work again, but I still run the company because I don't know what else I do with my time." "That's not boring, that's impressive." Marina looked around the living room. "This is all from your company?" "And, some family money. My parents were software engineers at Microsoft in the 90s. They did very well in stock options before they died in a car accident when I was in college." Alexander's expression was matter-of-fact, but Marina could see the pain underneath. "So, yes, I'm very privileged, very lucky, and apparently very careless with securing gates. It was an accident. Accidents happen. They do, which is why I'm not angry at you, Marina. I was devastated, yes, scared, but not angry." Cooper ran into the street. You couldn't have prevented it. They talked until 8:30 when Cooper fell asleep, and Alexander walked Marina out to her car. "Thank you for coming," he said. "It really does make a difference. Cooper was happier tonight than he's been since the accident." "I'll come back," Marina said. "If that's okay. I work tomorrow, but I'm off Tuesday. I could come Tuesday evening." "That would be perfect." Marina came back Tuesday, and Thursday, and Saturday. Every visit was the same. She'd arrive around 6:30, sit with Cooper while he recovered, talk with Alexander about everything and nothing. She learned that he loved terrible reality TV, but would never admit it to his business partners, that he'd wanted to be a musician before going into tech, that he was lonely in a way that money couldn't fix. He learned that she'd grown up poor but happy, that her mother was her hero, that she was saving up to take college classes because she'd always wanted to be a teacher but couldn't afford university, that she worked harder than anyone he knew and never complained about it. 2 weeks in, Alexander asked, "Why do you still come? Cooper's mostly recovered. You don't owe me anything." Marina looked at the golden retriever sleeping between them on the living room floor, then at Alexander, who was watching her with an expression she couldn't quite read. "Because I like it here," she admitted. "I like spending time with Cooper, and with you." "Is that weird?" That I like. Spending time with the guy whose dog I hit? If it's weird, I don't care, because I like spending time with you too. Alexander paused. Marina, can I take you to dinner? Like an actual date dinner? Not sitting on my living room floor talking while my dog sleeps? Marina's heart did something complicated. Are you asking me out? After I literally hit your dog with my car? I'm asking you out because you're kind, funny, smart, and you cared enough about a stranger's dog to visit him every other day for 2 weeks, even though you had no obligation to. The dog hitting was unfortunate, but it's not really relevant to whether I want to date you. That might be the weirdest reason anyone's ever given for asking me out. Is it working? Marina smiled. Yeah, it's working. Yes, I'll go to dinner with you. Their first date was at a nice restaurant in Belltown. Not too fancy because Alexander had seen Marina's face when he suggested the French place, where they talked for 3 hours, and Marina forgot to be nervous about the fact that she was dating a man who was probably worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Their second date was a walk around Green Lake with Cooper, who was fully recovered now, walking with just a slight limp, where Alexander held her hand, and Marina thought about how strange it was that hitting a dog had led to this. Their third date was at Marina's apartment, her tiny, cramped apartment that was 1/10 the size of Alexander's living room, where she cooked him dinner, spaghetti and meatballs, nothing fancy, and Alexander said it was the best meal he'd had in months because it was made with actual care instead of by a private chef. I like you, Alexander said that night, sitting on Marina's second-hand couch with Cooper's head in his lap. I really, really like you. And I know this is fast, and I know we come from completely different worlds, but Marina, I haven't been this happy in years. You make me happy. You make me happy too, Marina admitted. Even though you're obscenely wealthy and I'm still trying to figure out if I can afford new tires for my car, and even though we met in literally the worst possible way, I really like you. What if I bought you new tires? Absolutely not. What if Cooper bought you new tires, as a thank you for all the visits? Cooper doesn't have thumbs or a credit card. I'll co-sign for him. Marina laughed and kissed him, and it felt like the most natural thing in the world. They dated for a year before Alexander proposed, and even then it was complicated. Marina's mother worried about the class difference. Alexander's business partners worried he was making decisions with his heart instead of his head. Marina herself worried she wasn't good enough, sophisticated enough, educated enough. But Alexander shut down every objection. I don't care about class or sophistication or education. I care that you're kind and honest, and you make me laugh. I care that you work hard, and you're loyal, and you loved my dog even after you hit him. I care that when I come home you're there, and that makes everything else worthwhile. Marry me. Please. Marina said yes through tears. They got married at a small ceremony at the courthouse with just family and close friends, and Cooper was the ring bearer because of course he was. This is insane, Marina said on their wedding day, looking at her dress. Alexander had wanted to buy her something expensive, but she'd insisted on finding her own. A simple white dress from Nordstrom rack that cost $200. A year and a half ago, I hit your dog. Now I'm marrying you. How is this my life? Best accident that ever happened to me, Alexander said, kissing her. Best accident that ever happened to both of us. 4 years later, Marina walked into their house. They'd moved to a slightly smaller place in Capitol Hill that felt more like a home than a mansion, carrying bags from the grocery store to find Alexander on the floor of the living room, surrounded by 4 golden retrievers of various ages. Cooper, now 8 years old and perfectly healthy except for a slight limp when it rained. Daisy, a rescue they'd adopted 2 years ago who'd been found starving on the side of the road. Max, another rescue who'd been surrendered by owners who didn't want him anymore. And the newest addition, Bella, a puppy they'd gotten 3 weeks ago because Marina had seen her at the shelter and fallen in love. We have a problem, Alexander. announced without looking up from where he was being climbed on by 4 dogs. What problem? We're definitely getting a 5th dog. I met him at the shelter today when I took Bella for her checkup. His name is Charlie, and he's a senior, golden with arthritis, and no one wants him and Marina. I couldn't leave him there. Marina set down the groceries and sat on the floor, immediately covered in dogs. So we're becoming a golden retriever rescue sanctuary? Apparently, yes. Is that okay? Marina looked at her husband, the man she'd met by hitting his dog, who'd turned the worst moment of her life into the beginning of everything. Surrounded by the small army of rescues they'd accumulated because neither of them could resist a dog in need. It's perfect, she said. Absolutely perfect. Good, because Charlie's coming home tomorrow. I already signed the adoption papers. You're lucky I love you. I'm lucky you hit my dog 4 years ago. That's a terrible thing to say. But true. Best accident of my life. Alexander pulled her close, careful not to crush any dogs in the process. I love you, Marina Silva Hunt. I love you too, even though you're adopting dogs without consulting me. It's Charlie. He's 12 years old and has maybe 3 good years left. We have to give him those years. Fine, but that's it. 5 dogs is the limit. We're not getting a 6th. Agreed. Absolutely agreed. 3 months later, they got a 6th dog, a 7-year-old golden retriever named Sam, who'd been found tied to a tree in a park. Marina didn't even argue, just helped Alexander fill out the adoption paperwork and made room in their house for another bed. We're insane, she told Julia over coffee one Saturday. We have 6 large dogs in a house that's 90% dog beds at this point. You're happy, Julia corrected. You and Alexander are the happiest couple I know. The dogs are just a bonus. A very furry, very expensive bonus. Worth it, though. Marina thought about coming home every day to Alexander and their small army of golden retrievers. About how far she'd come from that terrified girl practicing driving in a rich neighborhood. About how hitting a dog had led to finding her person, her purpose, her family. Yeah, she said, smiling. Definitely worth it. 10 years after the accident, Marina and Alexander sat on their back porch watching their golden retriever pack play in the yard. They were up to 8 dogs now, all rescues, all seniors or special. Needs or dogs no one else wanted. Their house was chaos. Their furniture was destroyed. Their lives revolved around vet appointments and medication schedules and dog food. Do you ever wish we'd met differently? Marina asked. Like, in a normal way that didn't involve me hitting your dog? Never, Alexander said immediately. Because if we'd met at a bar or through friends or on a dating app, I might not have seen who you really are. But watching you cry over a dog you'd hit, watching you visit him every other day, even though you didn't have to, watching you care about a stranger and his pet, that showed me everything I needed to know about who you are. That you're good, Marina. Good all the way through. And that's who I fell in love with. That's very romantic for someone whose dog I literally ran over. It's romantic because it's true. Best worst day of my life. I wouldn't change a single thing. Marina leaned her head on his shoulder, watching 8 golden retrievers play in the evening light, and thought about how the universe worked in strange ways. How sometimes the worst mistakes led to the best outcomes. How love could start in the most unexpected places. Me neither, she said. I wouldn't change a thing. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs to know that the worst moments can become the best beginnings, that crying over your dog doesn't make you weak, it makes you human, that poor girls with beat-up Hondas can find love with billionaires. If both people see past money to what matters, that dogs are better at forgiveness than humans, and we should learn from them. That visiting someone's injured pet every other day is the ultimate act of caring and the best foundation for love. That class differences don't matter when 2 people genuinely connect. That adopting rescue dogs is the ultimate expression of love and compassion. and that sometimes hitting a billionaire's golden retriever with your car is the universe's completely insane way of introducing you to your soulmate. Subscribe if you believe in new drivers who practice in rich neighborhoods, in billionaires who cry over their dogs, in golden retrievers named Cooper who forgive the people who hit them, in waitresses who become rescue dog moms, in love stories that start with accidents and end with 8 dogs and counting, in couples who turn their houses into animal sanctuaries, and in the idea that the most beautiful love stories often start in the most unexpected and terrible ways. Because sometimes all it takes is one terrible Sunday morning, one open gate, one injured dog, and 2 people who care enough to see past the disaster to the possibility underneath.